G'day guys, back with the Outer Circle, and in today's episode I want to talk about the concept of entitlement within the community. I actually had originally planned to put up my thoughts on 10th edition 40k starter set. In short, I do like the starter set. So that video is in the editing bay at the moment, being processed, and I could put it up this evening, but I'm probably just going to schedule it again for another day because I decided to just slightly rejig things, strike while the iron is hot regards the last video I did, and basically put this one out. So I just thought I'd screen cap, and obviously I've hidden away most of the people's identities here, except for Forge World themselves. This is just some of the comments. Pretty much all were taken from a single thread over on the Forge World page, and there's a real misunderstanding, I think, within the community about what actually constitutes entitlement, and I want to clear that up a little bit today because I genuinely have concern for the community, and I'm concerned on behalf of the people who watch this channel, and of course on behalf of random people that I come across on the internet who are making logical points and get unfairly maligned for it. Now, there is all sorts of things that I could have titled this episode. You know, I could have gone down the insulting route, but I have been really genuinely impressed by the maturity of many of the comments that I've seen, and I want to also create a video that is just as fair. And so we're staying away from the name calling today. We're staying away from the outer circle, sort of hyperbolic character, and we're going to be very, very blunt and a little bit analytical. So, anyway, with that in mind, people are being called entitled for saying that it would be nice to have things that are, one, not Imperial Fists or Sons of Horus, and two, all the things I've been saying about needing different infantry types in the game and such. And the people who are calling them entitled, I don't think quite understand what entitlement is. So let's think about this logically. There is a relationship, I talk about it a lot, the customer-company relationship. The way it works is the company has a product they want to sell. The reason they want to sell it is because they want to make money. The customer has a need for a product. And if those two align, what the customer wants and what the company has to sell, then the customer exchanges their money for the company to give them a product, and the company therefore makes money. And this is all good and well in the typical economy. However, when it comes to Games Workshop and the way that they've treated the Heresy, we are getting very much more a case of the company is making what they want to make. And then as a customer, you have a choice of accepting what they want and buying it, or voicing your fair and legitimate concerns that, well, actually, this is not what I want to buy. Can you please make me the product that I want to buy, and I will gladly buy that? And they're ignoring that. That is not entitlement, okay? Entitlement is asking that you, in particular, are specially treated at the expense of others. Now, it's a fine line to straddle, but I'll try and break it down so people can understand it better. Let's say you play a game like, I don't know, Warhammer 40,000, okay, and you play Dark Eldar, and you've had almost no updates, pretty much nothing since the end of 5th edition. You know, you've had a couple little kits along the way, but really your faction hasn't been touched since the end of 5th edition. Your big bad, as Durble Vecht, has been basically removed from the game, and you know, they could make a kick-ass version of him these days. And then you say, you know, you've made something around the 15 Primaris Lieutenants mark in just the last 5.5 years. Could we please get some more Dark Eldar miniatures? That is not entitlement. That is a fair and legitimate concern because, well, you are a member of the community who has purchasing power and you deserve to be looked after on an equal level. Now, granted, there are financial considerations for the company, but as the customer, that doesn't matter. the company's financial stability is of no concern to you. What is of greatest concern to you is how you are looked after. So if you're placing the company's well-being above the rest of your community, you're looking at it from the wrong angle. It's just my take on that. And I'll get into that a lot more in depth when we talk about the old world. That video is coming in 2 days' time. That's another fun one. Now, that is a fair and legitimate concern, saying I'm a Dark Eldar player and I would like some more Dark Eldar stuff since we've basically had nothing for the last decade. Fair, even-handed. However, if you're a Primaris Marine player and you turn around and said, I want another Primaris Lieutenant, well, judging off how many you've got and how spoilt you have been, that would be encroaching on entitlement, because you have gotten dozens more kits than other factions have within the game, and yet you are still asking for more. And not only are you asking for more, but you're asking for such a specific niche product. That would be verging on entitlement. So there's a big difference here. And as you can read through some of these comments, it's very interesting to note the way people talk about it and the way that they defend the company. For example, I think these things are in the pipeline long before the public sees them. They just can't turn around and quickly change what's being released just because some randos on the internet are complaining about it. Well, again, I don't think complaining is the right word. You go over and look what's happening with, I don't know, Bud Light right now. That's complaining in bulk. No, what's happening right now is we have a company who probably thought that they could just get away with doing something like the Despoilers. We sell plastic tactical marines, we sell resin assault marines, and there's probably not that much demand for assault marines. Well, how did they come to that conclusion? They might have said, well, we haven't sold a lot of resin ones in the last year, perhaps. And then, just to sidetrack, this is one of those classic situations where people could be misreading the data. Okay, so let's give the company some credit here. It could just be a simple case of not understanding the data. They could be saying we've hardly sold any, therefore they are not popular, right? Without thinking about why that might be. So let's us today think about why that might be. Well, for a start, one, a lot of people don't like working with resin, so they're less inclined to purchase them in the first place. Two, with the release of Heresy 2.0, there is a whole bunch of tacticals in plastics, and people were probably thinking that assault marines were going to come very shortly after, and they haven't. And those people have just they're left eternally blue-balled, as it were. They're just waiting and waiting and waiting for these models to come down the pipeline, and now they've at least got previews for it. But now that they've got previews for it, why are they going to go out and purchase them? They're not going to, because they know that, okay, they are coming in plastic, but it's a year away. So now they're a year into the game, haven't got them. They're going to be waiting, another 6 months, let's say, okay, 6 to 9 months, before they can get their hands on them. So essentially, they've lost a year and a half to 2 years of this game system being out without being able to play those lists. And whilst there are people out there who may argue that, assault marines are not that popular, again, I think you're misinterpreting the stats, just like the company could be here. So we have these two categories, right? First one being that, people don't like working with resin. Second, they've been waiting for plastics, and now they know plastics are coming, therefore they're going to wait until they do come. So that's a huge long wait there. There could be a third reason that people haven't been buying assault marines, and that could be that, maybe they just weren't very good in the game system they were a part of in the past. Assault marines are one of those things that they've really ebbed and flowed over the years. In 40k in particular, back in 3rd edition, relatively popular, but then they declined in popularity over the years because they were occupying fast attack, they weren't capping objectives, and they were competing things like land speeders, which were quite good at one point with their cyclone missile launches and such. What happened after 8th edition, I don't really know, but obviously Primaris Marines, being the big new thing, obviously encroached on their territory as well. So there are many different factors in there. And then, of course, when it comes to resin again, what are some of the armies that generally would gravitate towards something like assault marines, or to a lesser degree, despoilers? Well, one of them would be World Eaters. And what do World Eaters have in particular? Well, they have chain axes. Now, are you provided chain axes? No. So not only would you have to buy the kit, you then have to go out and you have to buy further things to complement the kit, such as chain axes. Chain axes to replace the chain swords that the models come with. Well, that can put people off because now they've got to pay a lot more, and that's something else. That's a fourth point. These models cost a lot. Then there's a fifth point why people might not have gone for Assault Marines. What if they didn't like the sculpts? Because, well, Mark II was removed, so you basically had the choice of Mark V or Mark VI, and Mark VI was removed, so you basically had the choice of Mark V, which I like the Mark V sculpt. The problem is, it's only 2 sculpts. They've not got many leg poses, and they all have the same helmets, the same shoulder pads. Like, they're very, very samey versions of Mark V. And whilst that can look good in a 40k army in particular, it looks great, like something like Caradons, where you can spread around those suits of armor within your squads, and it just tells a bit more of a story. When you see a Mark V squad all identically equipped, it doesn't always come off the best. Okay, and some people just don't like the look of that. And so again, they're not going out of their way to purchase the one assault squad that was available for the longest time. And so there's at least 5 reasons why people might not have been buying a lot of Assault Marines. And then, of course, with the release of a new game, Assault Marines rules change it again, Rites of War change it again, and you've got things like the Day of Revelation, Day of Sorrows, the Bright Blood Angels list that use them. You have World Eaters armies, and of course you've got World Eaters players who want to run things like rampages. Well, if they're able to get a hold of Assault Marine bodies in plastic, they can just do a head swap on them if they want to rampages, and do a weapon swap on them, and they're there. So why are they going to go and they're not just buying them as Assault Marines, they're going to buy them as specialist troops. So then they might not buy Carteret units. So there's a whole host of factors here. So saying, things like, oh, well, Assault Marines are not that popular. They were popular. It's just the data might have been misinterpreted by a certain company. And so to circle back to the point made that I think these are just in the pipeline long before the public sees them, that comment, the company, and I will say this as a person who ran an injection molding company, they are quite capable of shifting focus and putting these things out within the next couple of months, a month or 2. They could do it from today. If they have a design ready and have not made a die yet, they could turn around a die and have production underway and be ready for a launch within 8 weeks. It can be done. The problem is it can cause some disruption to the rest of their plans. That's why it's not being done. They are quite capable of doing it, but it would have to mean sucking up their pride and potentially fighting with another project that they've decided they would rather prioritize working on the dies for. Something like, I don't know, Epic 30,000, that's been hinted at, or maybe the Old World, or of course 10th edition, which, I'll be honest, 10th edition is probably already well manufactured. The first kits are probably getting ready to ship to the influencers as we speak, if not already in their hands, and it's just under non-disclosure. Now, telling them to pull the stupid Knight Lancer that nobody cares for, again, just to reiterate, I know some people care for it, I am aware of that, but I'm saying on the whole, if you took a poll of the entire community and you told them to rank every unit in the game from a scale of 1 to 100, they're probably not sitting at 100. That's just what I'm saying. With something like the Knight Lancer, they could say, you know what, we've decided to not put this into production straight away, we're instead going to delay on releasing this, and we're going to bring the Assault Marines forward. They are quite capable of doing that. They are not such a lumbering behemoth of a company that they cannot do such a thing. They just choose not to, because of all the people making all these comments you see on the screen right now. Because they enable the behavior. And this is the toxic positivity within the community coming to the forefront again. Because rather than side with their fellow gamers and say, you know what, I understand exactly where you're coming from and why you would have an issue here, and I feel sorry for you that you are in this situation. I want to do my best to speak up to Forge World on your behalf and say, yes, can you please deliver some Praetors for this Legion? These people are not capable of doing that. They don't have that kind of empathy because they're selfish. Does that sound mean? I don't care. They are selfish, and they are selfish for one simple reason. They are selfish because you see it written in their comments and they say, we are happy we got something. Just be happy you got something. Can't you let people be happy? They are only caring about themselves and their own emotional satisfaction. That's how you know what these people are doing. And that's as close as I'm going to get to calling people a name in this video. This selfishness is rife in the community. And when you run a channel like mine, which is just renowned for its negativity, and I want to push back hard against that. It's not negativity to call a spade, okay? But of course, we are in a situation where it can be glass half full or glass half empty. I prefer to say sometimes that the glass is full of urine. Now, take that how you will. We're in a situation where, as a community, we could be banding together right now, and every single post that comes out from Forge World and Games Workshop showing a Heresy release could be filled in the comments by people saying, we don't care, give us infantry. And unfortunately, it's not. Unfortunately, there is a huge cadre of sycophants in these comment sections on these videos, either defending the company, as per the comments you can see here, or saying to them, oh my god, this is amazing, I can't wait to have this, when will this be available? You know, those kinds of comments. And unfortunately, because the company sees those kind of comments, they just can pat themselves on the back and say, we got away with it again. We got away with it again. They're happy. Even though they're not getting what they actually want, need, or asked for, people are still in the comments praising us for releasing something they didn't ask for. What's the message that sends to them? It enables the toxic behavior of the company, and that's what it is. It is toxic. So we have toxic behavior from the company and toxic behavior from a fan base. And for those who say, oh, it's just a game, who cares? Try to put it in the perspective of, you have people who this is their main escapism. This is their one big hobby, the thing that they look forward to outside of work, okay? They're living life as best they can, and they just work, they earn a little bit of money, they subsist, and they get a little bit of fun out of playing this game system. And those people have just one little thing they want. They want to have a fully playable Legion with the bells and whistles, and they don't want to wait a decade for it. That is not a completely unreasonable request. And so when you see those people, though, for some reason, we think it's okay to attack them, to call them entitled, to call them man babies, to say, oh, it's just a game. If it's all they have to enjoy in their life, and you're telling them that, oh, they're just a baby and that it's just a game and they shouldn't care when they've sunk thousands of their dollars into it. You know, let's spare a thought for people who are worse off than you. You know, have some fucking empathy. I'm sorry to swear here, because I'm trying not to this video. There are some people who are financially in a crap place. They have very few skills that make them a desirable asset for businesses. Therefore, they're stuck earning minimum wage. They might never own a house in their life. And one of the few things they've got going for them is their Raven Guard army. They can get together with a few friends, have a couple of beers, and play some 30k. And rather than saying that their one desire to make their lot in life a little bit better, which is to have some custom Praetors, instead of saying that, yeah, no, that is a relatively benign request, no, you want to shit on them. And I think that's reprehensible from the community. Okay? I'm not saying everyone out there is like that, of course. Don't look at all Raven Guard players that way. But there is nothing wrong with being in that situation in life. You know, treat people with a modicum of respect and don't talk down to them because they have fair and legitimate requests. And for the love of God, community, who are you going to side with here? Your fellow players, the people you have to go to games clubs with, who play your games against? Or do you want to side with the company? Because last I checked, they're not going to play games with you. In fact, Games Workshop actively discourages playing games in their stores. So by all means, defend them if you want, if that's what your heart truly lies. But they're not going to be there for you when the community around you very much can be. Provided, of course, that you're not an insufferable prick. Anyway, that's some thoughts I have on entitlement in the Horus Heresy community. I hope I haven't gone too far off course in this video, but I had a lot of little things I wanted to say. And of course, you can read some of these comments for yourself. Go over and look on something like the Sons of Horus Praetor reveal over on Forge World. You'll see many of these sorts of comments. But don't go insulting the people who made them. There's a reason I like to remove the names, and that's because it's not the people who make them that should be the target of this vitriol. No one should be the target of vitriol here, if we're honest. The whole point is just to say that, yes, this is a problem, and these comments were made. But the people who made these comments, if you go in there and you insult them and such, well, you're no better than them. Okay? And really, you're never going to convince them otherwise. You're never going to convince these people that they are wrong in their beliefs, okay, of supporting the company the way they do. Because when you attack them, you're just convincing them that they are right to support the company even more, and that you're out there to hurt them, and that the company is not. Okay, it's a weird form of like a Stockholm syndrome here. So don't go out there and insult these people. Just keep in mind that this is a problem and it is happening out there. Anyway, that's it for me. I'm back with the Outer Circle. Thank you all very much for watching this episode, and we'll get back to you with some very positive content in the next video, and then we're going to take a slight downturn beat for Warhammer the Old World. But again, as always, there is a definite methodology behind what I have to say. Whether I'm right or wrong, at least I'll give you a reason why I'm saying it. Thank you all for watching. Please, thoughts and feedback in the comments below, and I'll see you all on the next video.